Hey, it's Jason Creel. Let's talk about one mistake that I find myself tempted to make all the time, and I have to typically fight to give into this mistake. And that mistake is competing with other businesses based on your price instead of your service. Now, perhaps you've heard it said, like I have, that really those are the two areas that you're going to compete for business on, is price or service. And I don't think it has to be one or the other. It's sometimes a combination of both. I mean, you offer a fair price and good service. But I believe there are some people who their business model, whether they set out to be this way or not, is based on competing on price, which is a huge mistake. Now, let me give you an example to clarify what I'm saying. This past week, I got a request from my website for a quote. A lot of times when I get a request from my website for a quote, it's someone who's also checking with 2 or 3 other companies for a quote, which is understandable, and I have to know that going in, that I may be competing for this business. Well, for me, I give price based on a pricing chart, so that helps me stay disciplined to what the price should be. So it's based on the square footage. So I go out and measure the lawn. I give them a price. It was $50-something per application. I asked him if he was currently using a lawn care company. He told me he was, and I could tell his yard looked pretty good. So, and he told me that they were charging $40-something per application. And based on my company, I do less applications than the competitor did. And based on the number of applications I was proposing to do versus the amount the other company was doing, it ended up being a $4 per year difference. I was $4 per year higher than my competitor, but in less applications. So I gave him the quote. He said, yeah, let me crunch the numbers. I don't think he was necessarily unhappy with the other guy. I think he was just looking to see if he could save some money. Well, I never heard back from him. I'm assuming I'm not going to get that business. Had a similar instance last year. Same thing happened. I gave a lady a quote. The competitor had given her half off first treatment, and with that discount, and something I didn't offer at the time that I'm starting to now, he ended up being $10 cheaper for the year. I think, which actually means he's probably more expensive this year, but just so happened and he got the business, I didn't. It is what it is. So those are 2 examples where, in those situations, what I'm tempted to do, especially early in the season, right now it's January, I'm not getting that many calls. When I'm not getting that many calls and I'm looking to grow my business significantly this year, I get tempted to drop the price, just do what it has to do to get more customers. And so the danger in that is I don't want to compete on price. I don't want to position myself as the cheapest service in town, and I want to make sure that my price is staying at a profitable rate. So what I have to do in this is I have to remind myself last year that I got 100 customers last year, my first year, and that the phone will be ringing shortly a lot for people looking for quotes. And I have to also remind myself that last year, using the exact same pricing structure, that I was landing well over 50% of the people that I gave quotes to. So this is the temptation that I face, to keep from dropping my price, because in doing so, sure, I may get the business, but you know what? A lot of them I might have gotten also if I'd have kept my price where it is. And so I'm going to stick with my pricing chart. And so this, to me, perhaps this makes sense to you in your situation. And I think you have to balance it, because, like I said, this will be my second year with my business in this new city. And I'm trying to grow as many customers as I can possibly get. Well, to do that, I may offer some special offers. I am offering special offers. I'm giving half off your first treatment. I'm doing some other marketing things to try to generate leads to, get as many customers as I possibly can. But what I don't want to do is start coming off the regular price, because you may give them a discount to start with, and that's fine, but the idea is that they're going to be my customers for years down the line, and at least a lot of them, and I want to make sure that I've got them at a profitable rate. And so let's put this in an illustration. Well, let me say this. I think for some of you, where this is going to play out is, say you're established, you've already been in business for several years. If this is your first, second year in business, maybe you can apply this later. But if you've been established, and I feel like I made this mistake, I think you need to really examine whether your business needs to increase your price this year on your current customers as well as new customers. Especially if, let's say, you have no desire to grow to a second crew. You have one crew and you're basically maxed out what you can handle. I would highly recommend increasing your price. Even if that's not so, and you're established and hey, we're making a decent profit as a business, but I want to see if we can take this to another level. Examine your business and say, can I increase my price? And I know it's always a little bit nervousness in doing so, because you're afraid of how many customers you're going to lose. But I have seen it where I think the fear is a little overdone, because I don't think, for the most part, if you increase your prices a reasonable amount and you have an established business relationship with these customers, I really don't think you're going to lose many. In my experience, when I've raised prices, had virtually no drop-offs. Now, that's going to depend on how well they like your business, on how much you increase the price. But if you don't feel like your business warrants a price increase across the board, then maybe you could at least look at it and say, is there a certain segment of my customers that I want to increase the price on? Perhaps the ones at the very bottom of your pricing scale. And you think, you know what? These customers are not that profitable. I'm going to bump the price up just on these certain ones. Or perhaps there's a certain area that is a little bit out of the way for you to go to, and you think, I'm not sure I'm making a very good profit on these particular customers because I have to drive so far. Maybe I'm just going to raise the price on these. Or perhaps you're established, you're maxed out to what you can handle. You're going to be getting more calls this year. You think, it really doesn't hurt me if I even did lose 10% of my customers, because I know I'm going to gain at least that many back here in a couple of months. So I'm going to bump my price up across the board. And even if you do that, you need to crunch the numbers. Say, let's say I increased everybody $5 per cut, per application, per whatever. How many customers would you lose? Let's just say you lost 10%, which I would think most time you won't lose that many. Well, crunch the numbers and see. It could work out to where with less customers you're actually making more money. If that's the case, it's a no-brainer. It's worth doing. And so I think it's time. This is a great time to do it. Examine it. Should I increase my prices this year? And and on new customers that are coming in that I'm getting calls on, should my prices be a little higher? Where I think if you're just starting out, you're just trying to grow your business, you don't have the name recognition, perhaps you're not able to have this luxury. But again, I think this is where it's so important, your business image, how you carry yourself as a person, how your truck looks, how your equipment looks, how your marketing looks. For instance, let me illustrate what I was making the point of. Sometimes I go deer hunting with my dad, and if we shoot one, we'll clean it and we'll take it by a processor on the way home. Now, there's more than one processor that process the deer meat on the way home. But we've been doing business with a particular one for several years. They do great work, and it's reasonable. And once we clean the deer, it's like $40, I believe. Well, if next year they decided that their rate was going up to $45, I would say even $50, which would be a 25% increase, we probably still would go with them, even though there may be another one on the way home, and there is, that would be cheaper and perhaps does a good job, because we're established with these guys. We've been using them for years. We know they do good work. We're not going to cancel them over $5, $10, you know. And I know, of course, if you're talking about mowing somebody's grass weekly, you may be looking at 30-something cuts a year. And so $5 a cut, you know, is significant. Could be $150 a year for a particular customer. But still, I think most people who want quality, they don't want the inconvenience of having to go find somebody else to do their lawn. They know you, they trust you. They want your business doing it. And for a lot of them, quite frankly, $5 per cut is nothing, you know. Now, so anyway, I'm just using that example. In my own personal life, and I've been known to be semi-frugal. I've called worse than that, but if a business that I do business with goes up $5, I'm probably not canceling. I mean, I'm just not. And so I think you need to look at that, and people understand that. And if they, like I said, you got to be established, but that's something to think about. So again, going back to your business image, the way you carry yourself, the way your truck looks, everything about you that says we're going to do quality work. This is, you know, particularly when you're in front of new customers. And this is something I'm trying to improve on myself. Let me make a point that I'm from Alabama. I talk like I'm from Alabama. I dress like I'm from Alabama. You know, think what you might about people from Alabama. I have to work a little bit harder to stand in front of a potential customer, even though other people I'm competing against are from Alabama too. But I try to sound as intelligent as I can sound in selling myself. Carry myself in as professional of a manner as I can to let them know and to give them confidence in somebody they've never met that, hey, this guy and his company is going to do a great job taking care of my lawn. So perhaps if you're not that well spoken, perhaps you know, it may take a little practice. You need to see, well, what's the best I can do. You know, for example, this year I went and bought new pants, new khaki pants to work in, because the ones I had last year are filthy and have holes in them, fall apart. I just threw some away, and some of them I'll just, you know, work in out around the house. But it's just part of cleaning up my image. You know, I've got work shirts that have my logo on them, but I also have polo shirts with embroidered logo and some of that thing. If I need to go to a more important meeting and need to look a little more professional, I can wear those kind of things. So if you don't have those things in place, if everything about you and the way your equipment looks, the way your truck looks, the way your marketing looks, the way your logo looks, the way you have named your business, like I use as an example, if your business is called Dirt Cheap Cuts, that's the kind of customer you're going to get. I mean, you've already scared off the higher end customers because they don't want any part of Dirt Cheap Cuts taking care of their lawn. I mean, a lot of them. I mean, there may be some exceptions. Now, your business is probably not called Dirt Cheap Cuts, but the point is, sometimes the way I see people carry themselves, the way their equipment looks, the way everything about them, they might as well have strapped across their truck a huge sign that says Dirt Cheap Cuts. Does that make sense? The business may not be called Dirt Cheap Cuts, but it looks like that's what they're screaming by the way that everything looks in their business. Carry yourself in a way, design everything about your business in a way that says, hey, we're gonna do a great job, and for that we charge this price. Now, I in no way am saying let's charge top dollar for our services. I mean, if you can, go for it. But I'm not by any means saying let's be the most expensive. But if you consistently find yourself being toward the bottom end of the barrel, you know, I think some people, I've had customers, I believe, I was literally mowing for no profit. I mean, it was so cheap. At times, I don't do it anymore. But I look back and I'm like, I don't know that I was really making any money off of those people. You know, so you guys got to think through this thing, because at the end of the day, these are business skills. This is business financial decisions that decide whether we make a profit or not. You know, and if it means that, hey, you're generating an extra $5,000 a year and actually doing less work. You know, you lost a few customers, but your profit actually increased $5,000 a year because of this increase. Well, think what an extra $5,000 a year can do for your business. I mean, that's a pretty decent mower for $5,000. You could, instead of using all those sorry handheld equipment, get rid of all that, upgrade, have brand new handheld equipment that cranks every time you need it to. Think about, maybe you got a good employee that you're worried about losing. If you could bump him up $1 an hour, you know, things like that. Maybe, you know, do some things on your truck to make it look nicer, upgrade equipment, whatever. $5,000 a year, maybe it's not that much, but it makes a difference in, you know, or maybe it's you put it in the bank and you made more money this year. Take your family on a vacation, whatever. But it makes a difference. So anyway, the mistake is being too cheap, competing on price. Don't compete on price, compete on service. But you got to position yourself and carry your business in a way that when you give them the price, they think you're worth it. Hope that helps. Hey, thanks for watching the video. If you're in the lawn care business or thinking about starting a lawn care business, click the subscribe button below to stay tuned to all the latest videos.